Hello, everybody. Good Sunday morning, and welcome to another episode of the Lions Grid. Joined this morning by Mr. Jeffrey Raymond. Jeffrey, how are you doing this weekend before Thanksgiving?
Doing good. Starting to get cold, as in not the kind of balminess we've had. Like the my bones are hurting cold. At least around here, got a good amount of snow this week. Actually, at least for a little bit, but it didn't stay. But winter's here.
Yeah, the Stark's words always come true. Winter is coming, and it
Yes.
is upon us. And so, Jeffrey, as we look to, it's going to be an interesting week, right? Because we have the game here on Sunday, and then it's a short week with the Lions playing the Bears on Thanksgiving. So it is going to be a lot of football here for the Lions over the course of the next few days. But before we move on to our matchup against the Bears, we have to handle business here against the Colts in Week 12. And Jeffrey, these two teams are sort of in vastly different circumstances. The Lions, of course, are 9-1 and currently sitting in first place in the NFC. They've won 8 straight games and are really looking to avoid a slip here against the Colts because you have two teams really hot on their heels in the Vikings and the Eagles. Both of those teams are 8-2. So Lions are playing, looking towards a pretty favorable likelihood that they will be in the postseason. While the Colts, they're sitting at 5-6, and they're kind of clinging to any real playoff hopes. Jeffrey, they're kind of trying to look at that wild card spot. They've put Anthony Richardson back in the starting position, and he had one of his best games last week against the Jets. But this is on the one hand, you got the Colts who are kind of trying to break into the playoff scene, and then you have the Lions who are kind of dictating the NFC playoff scene. So, two very different teams here, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I think the Colts need this one. I think as far as like their playoff chances, as far as like if we come in and upset the Lions at home, we can maybe ride some of that momentum because they're hot on Houston's heels, and that division's very much open for them. Especially given you got the Titans and the Jaguars sitting at 2-8, 2-9, respectively. So yeah, it would be a big win for them, and I think they played much better with Anthony Richardson post benching and post elite dragon play of Joe Flacco. But yeah, it's I think that benching may have done him good, and I'm more and more thinking that it was more of like a kind of like a response to him tapping himself out on some handoffs. So maybe that's what the young quarterback needed.
Yeah, give them time to get focused and get ready here as they look to make a push towards the playoffs. But Jeffrey, I do think that when you look at these two teams on paper, I think the Lions are, the Lions are the better team, so they should get the victory here. They're currently, we're 3-4, and we're looking to complete the sweep against the AFC South teams. If we wanted to put in a transfer request and just live down there permanently, I'd be okay with it. It seems like we could do pretty good against these teams. And really, I mean, we put up 26 against the Texans, and that was kind of the closest one. But that was the closest one in a game where Jared Goff threw multiple interceptions. So it's crazy to think, we put up 26 in that game with him having 5 interceptions. Like, what would have been the outcome if he hadn't thrown that many picks? Like, could we have seen another 50 burger against an AFC South team if that'd been the case? So it's just
Yeah, that was just a weird game. That was very fluky.
yeah.
I've been saying this for a couple of weeks. I feel like a few of those interceptions were not on him, but yeah, we had a good get right game last week, and I honestly expect us to keep rolling. The spread is only 7.5 this time. Against the Jaguars was 14.5, so they're giving a little bit more respect here.
They're twice as good as the Jags.
Yeah, they're giving a little bit more respect to Indy, but as they should, right? I think Anthony Richardson shows flashes of what he can be, so it'll be a good test to see because I think this is the first like real defense he's going up against. I know the Patriots can be kind of feisty every once in a while, but the Jets are not a real defense, right? They Anthony Richardson did fine against them, so yeah, it'll be a good test to see kind of like what he can show against top talent here.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Um, the Jets defense did sort of hold Jonathan Taylor in check last week. He only had 57 yards rushing the ball, but Anthony Richardson was able to kind of help augment that with his ability to move around. Being a quarterback that definitely is not afraid to run the ball, and he didn't have a ton of yards, but he did have 2 TDs on the ground. So, uh, something I think the Lions have struggled with even during the Dan Campbell era has been mobile quarterbacks. I think we do a very good job of taking away the passing options and all that good stuff, but like we don't do like a whole lot of QB spying and whatnot. And so when everything's covered and if the pass rush isn't getting home, I think we've seen whether it be Justin Fields in the past, Kyler Murray had some success against us. Of course, Brock Purdy in the playoffs
just kept jackknifing us in the end because it was just like we can only do so much on defense. And
yeah,
that guy kind of gets out there.
It's going to be interesting to see how the defense deals with that this week because Anthony Richardson is a guy who can make some impactful plays running the ball, and especially with having Alex Anzalone out and this being the first week. Obviously, Jack Campbell is got a great opportunity here to step up and really sort of prove Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell right in the faith they've given him. And he's been good as a Lion, but certainly it sort of shifts, right? Like he's been a good supporting cast member. Now he's got to kind of step up and fill a role.
He's the green dot holder now. He is the man kind of thing.
He's that QB on defense. So he's got to come out here and show us some stuff. And, I think something that's also going to be interesting to see is that our secondary is a little beat up in the corner position this week, Jeffrey. If we in the injury report, Terrion Arnold's out, Enos Rakestraw's out, so both of the rookies who have been contributing are out, and then Emmanuel Mosley, who's coming off of IR, is questionable in this game. Melon Fonwu, though, will be making his debut for the Lions here in this week. So at the safety position between Melon Fonwu, Branch, and Joseph, we're still very healthy. But at the corner position, some of these young guys that have been a big part of the team's success so far aren't going to be in this game. So I'm not hugely concerned about that, Jeffrey. But again, the fact that we are just the fact that both of them are out. I know Amik Robertson, Carlton Davis, they can certainly hold down the fort. But it's going to be interesting to see with those two guys out how Aaron Glenn in this defense sort of adapts to making sure that we're not giving up too many yards through the air to Anthony Richardson, because he did throw for 272 last week and a touchdown. So
yeah, and we've shown that we have some depth on the line, our run defense. Even with Aiden Hutchinson being out and just kind of the shuffling having to go around to make up for the production, we've shown that we can do that. And at points in time we didn't have Brian Branch out there, but the rookies have played most of the time, so it'll be a good time to see what our depth looks like there, because that was our biggest Achilles heel last year was pass defense. Now it's I'd argue a strength of our defense, but it'll be interesting to see, especially because Aaron Glenn's style of defense makes the DBs and the safeties do a lot of the tackling, and especially in run support. Anthony Richardson is a big man. So with Brian Branch being a missile and Anthony Richardson being a movable object sometimes, I kind of worry about that a little bit because he's a reckless runner.
Yeah, and the Lions have been stellar in the rush defense. They're one of the better rush defenses in the league. But it is going to be interesting to see. Certainly, if this is a game where that rush defense does struggle, a running back like Jonathan Taylor is certainly a guy of that can, is of the caliber and quality that can certainly gash you. So it's going to be interesting to see just exactly how that plays out. And injury side of things for the Colts, their offensive tackle Bernard Rainman is out, and then they have defensive end Tyquin Lewis is questionable for this game, but not any super huge injuries there for the Colts side of things. So. It's going to be interesting. And of course, Jeffrey, we've so far focused a lot here on the Lions defense matching up with the Colts offense. But if we sort of flip that script and take a look at the other side, The Lions offense right now is just, it's humming under Ben Johnson. It is looking good. As you mentioned, you know, bouncing back last week against Jacksonville and even against Houston, they didn't look bad. It was just a turnover issue. So they are just really cruising at this point in time. And this offense, we'll get to it here when we do our roaring or boring segment, but they are putting up some historically good numbers here. This Lions offense.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any signs of us or Dan Campbell letting off the throttle. He clearly is trying to put us all on notice that we're here, kind of thing.
I think my favorite Lions meme that I've seen recently is the like the dark Kermit one that has and it's about Dan Campbell being like, "Hey, that's enough. We don't have to keep scoring points on them." And then for the dark Kermit, he says, "Remember what they did to us." So it's just like the revenge tour is in full effect, yes. And we're showing no mercy to teams right now. They are definitely.
I'll take it. Let's show no mercy. Let's come from the top rope.
Yeah, I'm all. I mean, it's the defense's job to stop the offense, and if you can't stop them, the points are going to go up.
I do. What are your thoughts on running up, like, I guess, quote unquote, running up the score? What do you consider that? Do you consider that?
I mean, the only time I really consider it is like if we're in like fourth quarter, like sub 4 minutes, that's where I start to consider it like running it up territory. Like you're just at that point, you're almost like putting your starters in danger. Like if you're up 3 touchdowns or whatever with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, yeah, at that point, I'm not really trying to score. I'm really just trying to like run the game out and just get out of here healthy. But it's not that I dislike them scoring at that point. It's just I'm more concerned about getting out of that game healthy because we've certainly handled business at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a lot of players. I guess salty Packers players that I've heard.
Salty Packers.
Yeah, talking about like, we don't appreciate that, but like, I'm just like, well, you know what?
If you don't like it, stop them, man.
Yeah,
exactly. You got the option to do it. You're just not executing out there. So
it is hard though when we are stunting on people. I mean, we're doing trick plays and we're executing them on the like we're styling on people. It's crazy.
Well, especially what we did to Dallas. That game was definitely personal.
Oh, yes,
Dan Campbell and company, they came out there for maximum disrespect with some of those play calls. Yes. So I mean, that one in particular, like if the Cowboys had come out and said they weren't a fan of it, I would at least give that a little bit more understanding because we were trying to style on them. that wasn't good. So, like that wasn't just like we're beating you and we're better than you, so we're scoring points. That was like we were trying to inflict maximum damage. So which
they did, and you know what?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not going to apologize for it, but it was certainly a beat down there that was kind of deserved. Hey, Detroit fan man, thank you for commenting here. We're not running up the score, though. Ben admitted handicapping Hooker's development in the last conference, considering disrespectful opponents before letting Hook throw deep to work on his game. And that's true. I mean, we're trying to develop him into a viable backup here for the Lions. And, as good as Jared Goff has been, I mean, he keeps, it's never a problem to have a quarterback waiting in the wings.
Or a quarterback that can play. Like Jared Goff has gotten to sit down for a good amount of the fourth quarter in these past 3 weeks, not out there, not getting the risk, getting hit. So,
yeah, it helps make sure that we stay healthy. And we'll talk about it here in a second, Jeffrey, too, with roaring or boring. But Jared Goff is certainly in the discussion for MVP. So, anytime you have a chance to keep your MVP candidate quarterback healthy, certainly is a good thing to do. But then, Jeffrey, this Colts defense also has been a little suspect in recent weeks. I think it's back-to-back weeks they've given up 27-plus points. And this past weekend, it was to the Jets. And as we were talking about before we got on to do the show this morning, the Jets are definitely a dysfunctional organization at this point in time. The offense has not looked good all season. It has not sort of lived up to expectations. So the fact that Aaron Rodgers and company were able to come out and look good against this Colts defense when they have been an offense that's been struggling and the Lions are an offense that's been firing on all cylinders. Certainly could be an interesting situation for Colts fans if our offense is able to come out here and have success against that defense.
Yeah, especially because the Colts needed everything out of that game to win, with only winning by a point. So I smell a kind of another 50. Dare I say 60? Can we do a 60
dude,
burger? Can we beat Sean Payton? Wait, what did Denver get dropped on by Miami last year? Was that a 70-point loss? Like a 70 burger?
Yeah, it was huge. What was it? The Denver
I mean,
loss. Let's see. What was
Dan Campbell used to work with he worked under Sean Payton. Got a lot
70-20 was the final score there, so it was a 50.
Score 71 to beat his old mentor.
Yep.
I don't know, man. This might. I don't know if this is the team to do it, but we're running out of chances for going against some of these softballs. We got the Bills later on. We got a division game, so now's the time if we want it.
Yeah, and if we do take a second, Jeffrey, and just look forward at the Lions' remaining schedule, we have the Colts again this weekend. As mentioned, we have the Bears coming up on Thanksgiving, but then it's the Packers, the Bills, the Bears, the 49ers, and the Vikings. So number of NFC North matchups there left in our back last few games of the season, but outside of the Bills and the 49ers, Brock Purdy's out today. Nick Bosa's out today. So as you've mentioned, Jeffrey, they are kind of the walking dead over there with the 49ers.
Yeah.
Are the Bills the game that hit, like which game had you the most worried looking at that schedule there?
Oh, the
Bills.
Bills.
Is it possible that the Lions could finish the season with only one loss?
The Bills, I think, will be so. I mean, it's essentially a possible Super Bowl preview right there. So that's going to have some juice to it, and I could see that one going either way. But it'd be interesting to see what the Bears do, right? Because they kind of get into goofy games. I don't know. I feel like they're a spooky team. They kind of spook me out with how they do things, but they always end up on the wrong side of it typically. But yeah, I don't know how healthy the 49ers are going to be, because some of these issues are because some of these players are old, and I'm not sure if it's going to they're going to fully come back to their full powers again this year.
Yeah, it's certainly something to keep an eye on. Although between the two games for the Lions and Bills game, at least the Lions are hosting the Bills, so I can only imagine what that environment is going to be like down at Ford Field. That's probably going to be just a crazy, crazy scene. And then when they go up against the 49ers, they are traveling to San Francisco for that game. So certainly gives at least a check mark in the advantage for the 49ers in that regard. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they heal up. And of course, we've talked about that NFC West race quite a bit. The Cardinals currently sitting on top, but all of those teams, you have the Cardinals, I think, who are 6-5, and everyone else is 5-5. So it's very much a hotly contested division. And it's going to be interesting to see, between the injuries that the 49ers have and what happens with that race. Like when it comes time to play them, are they even in contention for the division? Where are they at in the wild card race? It's going to be interesting to see sort of the implications of that game and how those sort of change by the time we get to it. Because, that game is in, I think it's December 30th is the game against the 49ers. So a lot can happen between now and then.
Yeah, those schedule makers were cooking with this one. I mean, I do like when they put kind of like marquee matchups towards the end of the year. I do like the shift of having division games towards the end of the year. I'm not so much of a fan of having like sometimes where they have like we're playing like a division game 2 out of the 3 weeks or something like that to the same team. I think that's a little funky, but just in general, having meaningful games at the end of the season just makes everything more exciting.
Absolutely. Especially, thankfully, we're not one of those like 2-8 teams or teams that are already looking towards the off season here. So definitely having those matchups against whether they be divisional opponents or other teams that are that are trending well in the NFC, and then with the Bills case going across conference to take them on, it's definitely very interesting. And welcome to the stream there, Dad D2. So
Welcome, Dan.
are we worried about Terrion Arnold and obviously Anzalone being out today? He says he's a little bit concerned, and certainly I think definitely, especially with the Anzalone injury, Jeffrey. I know we had talked about it after it happened, but he is a guy who I think is like embodies everything about this Lions team, right? Like he's a guy who's going to go in there, give everything he's got. He steps up in situations and makes big plays when he needs to. And he does like whatever he can to help this team get victories. And so that's what's really helped this Lions team turn things around. So losing him, I think, is a big issue just because of not only the level, like the play he brings, but also just like what he means to this team and the leadership. Especially since we're down Hutchinson already, some of those guys who have been those foundational blocks of this Lions defense now are trying to get back in time for the Super Bowl as they're dealing with pretty substantial injuries. But we've talked about it. I think it gives great opportunity to Jack Campbell to kind of step up and sort of fill that role, and hopefully he can do so. We've talked about how we give Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell a lot of credit because of how well they've done, and so they believe in Jack Campbell. They brought him in for a reason, and so I'm willing to let him see what he can do with this opportunity.
Yeah, I also have a moderate level of concern too, because like you said, I mean, as far as linchpins of even just like the hustle plays, he's got Anzalone's got a high motor. All these guys really do, but like Aiden Hutchinson and Anzalone, I mean, those are some alphas in there that are now not there, right? We still got a ton of people, and I think the culture is kind of getting us through a lot of these things. But losing your leader at the line and at your linebacker, that's going to be. We're going to have to figure it out here, and I think at least we have a not a very good team coming in to kind of get Jack Campbell kind of some of those starter reps with the green dot on there.
Yeah, he's got 2 games here against the Colts and the Bears here where he can really get himself up to speed before we look to take on some opponents that may have some more teeth to them in the Packers, the Vikings, the Bills. He gets to sort of warm up here a little bit. And then Detroit Fan Man, is David Long the new Gerard Davis? I mean, I don't know how to feel about that one. That one's a little bit loaded. He's got, we'll have to see. It is interesting. I know he is promoted to the active roster here, so it'll be interesting to see if he can contribute. And speaking of people that were recently promoted to the active roster, I mean, we traded for Zadarius Smith, Jeffrey, and last week was his first game in action for the Lions, and he did it wasn't a solo sack, but he did contribute to the one sack the Lions did get in that game. So it was good to see him be part of that pass rush.
Hey man, a sack is a sack.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see how it goes here with David Long if he can contribute to the team, and hard to say. Sort of, we had a larger sample side with Davis, so it's going to be interesting to see how things go. Vicky Brown here on Facebook Live. Are we showing the game? We are not streaming the game. The game is playing is at 1:00 today, so that will be a little bit later today. I want to say, what channel are they actually playing the game on? Let's see, Lions.
Would it be CBS?
It is Fox. So your local Fox channel will have it. Or if you have, YouTube TV or anything like that, I think you can get it through there. And then of course, Jeffrey, I know both you and I are big fans of the Red Zone. I usually watch the Red Zone, and then I'll go back and watch most of the game as well later on. But I try and keep up with my fantasy football team during while
I've
it's going
actually been
live.
doing the opposite this year. I've been watching all of the Lions game
Oh,
and then flipping
nice.
to red zone in between like halftime, commercial breaks, that kind of thing, just to get the vibe of the game to kind of
Mhm.
like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but it's been good football because like typically I got into red zone only a few years ago, but usually the Lions don't really they're not a part of the octobox. Maybe at the beginning because the kickoff was there, right? The rest of the time it's like we suck. So I was seeing good football in other places. So it's now that my team's good, it's like
Yeah, this
oh
season has been a revelation. They've
yes
been heavily featured on the red zone, so it's
yes,
almost like you can just watch the red
and
zone
we're on there.
to
Yeah,
watch the Lions game. But yeah, on Fox there, Vicky. So and again, that game has a 1 o'clock kickoff time. And Jeffrey, here, Week 12 is kind of an interesting one because it's the bipocalypse, as it's been
yes it
referred to
is.
for fantasy football managers. But a lot of teams not in action this week. So it's only, let's see, for the 1 o'clock window, it's 7 games at the 1 o'clock window. And then for the 4 o'clock window, there are the 3 games, and then Sunday night football and Monday night football. So a down week there in terms of the number of games that are being played this Sunday. And then Dad 2D2. Maybe you guys have already talked about it, but do you think the Bears can beat the Vikings and hopefully give us a little bit of breathing room at the top of the NFC North?
Ooh, I don't feel
Uh,
it in my gut.
yeah,
I don't know. Is that at
it
uh,
is at Chicago.
is at Chicago? Although I don't think that really is a
They are
plus
coming
for
off
them.
they're coming off the loss at home to the Packers. Mind you, that was only a 1 point separated them in that game.
Yeah, but a block kick at the end of the game does a lot for the psyche of the team, though, man. I
It
don't know. I,
does.
I don't know. The Bears could do something spooky.
I mean, they could. I'm not going to count on it just because I think the Viking. It's similar to us and the Colts here, right? Like I think the Colts are a team that could potentially, or sorry, the Bears are a team that could potentially like try and make a push for the playoffs, but like they need it's like a stretch kind of for them. Whereas the Vikings are a team that are very much in control of their own destiny. And I think when it comes to the Bears, the problem too is that I think we're heading towards a scenario in which Matt Eberflus is not going to be the returning head coach, depending on how the rest of the season goes. So, like the Vikings are a team that's kind of surging, whereas the Bears they have a slight window where maybe they could do something, but it doesn't seem likely that they're going to be able to capitalize on that opportunity. So I don't necessarily know if we're going to get any relief from the Bears being able to beat the Vikings. But something that may help in terms of like the race for the number 1 seed in the NFC is the fact that the Eagles have to travel to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. Um, so you have Eagles and Co. at 8-2 as well. They're heading in there to take on Matt Stafford and the Rams on Sunday Night Football. And Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup, Matt Stafford looked great last week. So being at home against the Eagles, that maybe give us a little bit of breathing room there if they could get the upset victory over the Eagles.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough matchup. I think, although the offense is cooking over there again with Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup being back, I think the Eagles might be just too talented based on what the Rams are going through because they're also kind of a Walking Dead team. They've got a lot of people banged up. I think they're coaching. Just with McVay, he's going to make the most out of those situations. But I think the Eagles might be too good there. So I think we might be in a close race for another week. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I agree. I think both. I mean, the Eagles and the Vikings are both favored in these games for reasons. But if I had to pick whether I thought the Bears could beat the Vikings or the Rams could beat the Eagles, I'm thinking the Rams beating the Eagles may be more likely than a Bears victory over the Vikings. I would definitely be surprised if the Bears got the win today. But I will say that the Vikings have been kind of a weird team. They are 8-2, and they've definitely been surprising with how well they've been playing. But for some reason, they have seemed to struggle more so against teams that aren't very good. Like they struggled against Jacksonville. Mind you, that game was over in the UK. But they do seem to have a weird thing there where they haven't necessarily come out and looked as dominant against bad teams, which is weird.
Hey man, these guys better get used to it. We're gonna have like a 20-game season with like 3 continents involved when the NFL expands.
Once we have the Munich franchise, and it's gonna be interesting to see how they have to like manage that and all the bye weeks and travel and stuff. Crazy logistics there, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think a hallmark of a good team is beating on a team that's not good. So that's where I kind of see where, like, I don't know, I guess holes in, I guess, the Vikings stake at being on top, right? They've not looked good winning quite a bit. It's been very close. Been very Vikings. They do that a lot. I feel like in their team's history. I'm actually curious what their career point differential is.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have a lot of heartbreaking losses for a team, you know.
Especially here recently under in the Kevin O'Connell era.
Yeah. I bet it's close. But
all right, Jeffrey. Well, I know my dad's here. He's active in the chat. He's already been sharing his comments here. So, it seems like there's no better time, Jeffrey, to transition to roaring or boring and see how he feels about some of these more spicy takes, if he finds them roaring or if he finds them boring. So, Jeffrey, one of the things, as I talked about earlier when we were taking a look at the Lions offense, is that they have been playing there's a lot of things from a record or from a stats perspective that are kind of like historical. And one of those things is that Amon-Ra St. Brown is currently on an 8-game streak of scoring a touchdown. Jeffrey, is it roaring or boring here that in week 12 he extends that to 9 games?
Oh, I'm roaring on that one. I mean, this guy's a machine. He's a stat merchant, and I think that's a compliment. So
he's going
I'm sure that these guys, based on how we've been playing this entire season, they're aware of what the stats are. And, I'm sure they'll try to cook him up, at least try to get some looks for him. But no, I expect him to keep rolling and get this to 10.
Yeah, I do think the Lions aren't a team that necessarily focuses on individual accolades, Jeffrey, but the next roaring or boring here is one that takes it beyond St. Brown, because he is part of an explosive offensive trio, Jeffrey. And did you know that Montgomery, Gibbs, and St. Brown, that trio of offensive players there, has an NFL record for scoring, for all 3 of them scoring a touchdown in a single game 8 times. That is an NFL record. Those 3 players,
all of them
scoring in the same game, have done that 8 games, which is an NFL record.
I didn't realize Monty did that. I thought there was a game where he didn't have one. Dang. Okay.
So, well, it's not been in like consecutive games. Like they, as a trio, since they've been together in Detroit, have scored a touchdown in 8 games.
Gotcha. I thought it was the last 9 games. I was like, no. Okay.
So it's just over their entire time with the Lions. They have each in 8 of those games they've been together as a team. They've each scored a touchdown in that game 8 times. And so they have an opportunity here to make it 9 games if they all score a touchdown in this game against the Colts. So is it roaring or boring, Jeffrey? They make it 9 games here today against the Colts.
I'm matching your dad's energy, and I'm going to say roaring. Absolutely. It's another 50 burger, 60, dare I say 71 burger. And all these guys are going to score. Wouldn't be surprised if one of these guys got 3 touchdowns.
You guys are yin and yanging it right now, opposite sides of the same coin. Jeffrey, the next one here, and Father, he'll be ready too. The Detroit Lions win the number 1 seed in the NFC. Are you willing to call that here in week 12, Jeff? Is that roaring or boring?
Yes, I'm roaring. I think there are things that are going for us as far as games down the stretch. Yes, we have all those division games. A sleeper's going to come out there.
He's going beyond boring. He's like, it's not just boring, it's a sleeper.
Yes, please tell me who you think your sleeper is. I'm curious to see.
Who can?
So anybody but the Lions. No, I think what's going to help, and I'm not sure about the end of Philadelphia and the Vikings schedule, if they have AFC opponents or not, but we only have 1 left. And even if we get a loss to them, it's not going to hurt our conference record if we do in fact lose to the Bills. So I think that helps us quite a bit. But yeah, I guess it depends on if those guys are playing some AFC games towards the end of the year. I think that could be potentially pretty big, actually.
Yeah, let's see if we take a look at their schedule here real quick.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'll look up Eagles.
I'll look at the Vikings. The Vikings are playing in their remaining games. They have matchups against the Bears, the Cardinals, Falcons, Bears, Seahawks, Packers, and of course the Lions to end the season. So it is all NFC opponents for the Vikings.
Yeah, so the Eagles, they play the Packers, they play the Falcons, they play the Saints, they play the Buccaneers, and then at the end of the season they will play. Oh no, I'm going backwards. Where am I here? What is this? Hang on.
What are you? That's why we need the stat department so they can look this stuff up while we.
Oh, that's showing the preseason at the end here. Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, I think right now the Lions do need to be looked at as the favorite to secure that number 1 seed. So
they'll play 3 AFC teams at the end of the season. So the Eagles have to split some of these games at the AFC. They have Baltimore, the Steelers,
Gummy Central.
Yeah.
No gummies were consumed during the filming of this program.
That's right.
Or prior to. Jeffrey, this next one is a little bit spicy, and I know it was sort of my prediction or sort of my super spicy take that I had, but I have started to see other people whisper it as still being a potential. Jared Goff winning the MVP award, roaring or boring?
Oh man, that 5-pick game. That game is the biggest stain on the season. But on the other side, everything else has been just incredible. So I think if he doesn't have another stinker and he continues this, I don't think that anyone can question his at least top 5, top 3, right? I mean, if he keeps up everything and doesn't have another multi-pick, even if he has a multi-pick game, as long as he doesn't throw another 5-picker, I think he could do it.
I'm going to go with boring on this one just because I think when you look at some of the other guys he's going up against, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, I think they have shown that they are more key components to their team winning. Their teams sort of win because of their performance directly. And Jared Goff has been fantastic. He has, his efficiency has been off the charts this season, minus the game against Houston. But I think with the Lions, it has been more of a team effort, has helped establish their dominance this season. You have the running game stepping up with both Gibbs and Montgomery. You have all of the guys on the offense, and then the defense has been playing spectacular as well. So I think it has. I think it's got to be. I think that is going to help impact the MVP race. I definitely think he deserves to be in the conversation. But when you're doing the conversation and trying to do, your plus minuses, I think the fact that he is, there's so many other good things going on with this Lions team, it kind of helps some of those other guys that he'll be competing against get the edge there ultimately. So, I got to say boring, but I agree that he has been playing, especially, those games. He had the perfect game. He's had a lot of games where he has had a perfect passer rating. He's been very efficient for the Lions and looked good in this offense, but I just don't think it's been enough to ultimately get him that individual award. So, but he's
you know what?
Good.
Okay, I'm doubling down. Putting the feet in. I think if he does not have another bad game, he continues the historic stuff that you were talking about. Mm-hmm. I mean, who are the main competition at that point? If everything kind of just goes pro Lions all the way, right? Lamar Jackson. He also has had a bad game this time with the Steelers, and he typically struggles against the Steelers. He's got to play him again. So if he has another bad game versus Steelers and Jared Goff kind of keeps his thing, I think that leapfrogs him. Josh Allen is another story. I think he's going to stay hot. I think that would probably be the biggest competition. I think the rookie of the year combo with Jaden Daniels and with the MVP is going to fall off here. I don't think he's going to keep up his thing. There is I guess, an argument to be made about Saquon, right? Based on kind of his.
Oh shit! Anyone else in the league? He says. Oh,
well, I mean, taking the field is the thing, but sometimes you got to go for the spicy pick.
I would say I think the spiciest dark horse I could think of would be Joe Burrow, because the Bengals are having a terrible season, but he has been putting up some fantastic numbers. So that may be a spicy guy who. Bo Nix is now who's taking the gummies now?
Yeah,
I mean, Bo Nix can definitely be in that combo for offensive rookie of the year, but
there's no
MVP, somebody's been dipping into the gummies.
Yeah, that's Gummy Central.
Someone's
Gummy Avenue over there.
And speaking of flirting with disaster, Jeffrey, we were talking before the show. Daniel Jones released this week by the Giants. I've seen some fan fiction out there, or whatever you want to call it, where the Cowboys sign him and then start him on Thanksgiving in a revenge game against the franchise that's wronged him.
So funny. I would want that. I want that to happen. I don't think it will, but I so want that to happen. It'd be so hilarious.
Which team do you ultimately think signs Daniel Jones, Jeffrey? I know it's come out that it said that he wants to go to a contender. Who do you think he ends up signing with here?
I mean, the teams that had the most heat for it, I guess as far as the rumor mill going, and apparently there's a lot of interest. Not just contenders, but as far as the contenders where he wants to go, Minnesota is one of the ones bubbling up. Baltimore bubbling up. We apparently are showing up some interest for him. I think it's interesting that he showed up on the Cowboys website right after he got released, before all the waivers go through. So I'm like, could it be? Jerry Jones wants to win now. And he's got an addled brain over there. He probably could think this is a great idea, and I think he should.
Do you like Daniel? Do you like Danny Dimes over Cooper Rush, or do you think he'd go with Cooper Rush?
Oh yeah. Now I don't. That's not going to solve any of their problems, because their offense is just terrible in general. Scheme, effort, just construction, everything. But I feel like he's a lot better than Cooper Rush, and I feel like he'd be extra motivated to play against his former team. So I don't know. I could see it happening. But I guess as far as an actual contender, I would say that I feel like Baltimore would be kind of a decent spot for it, right? Because he wants to obviously play for a contender. They could use just a locker room dude. He seems like a good locker room guy. I mean, the Giants players came out and kind of defended him after he went from the starting quarterback to emergency quarterback.
That was a weird, if you're a free agent looking to join an organization and you see that they benched him all the way down because they didn't want to pay him money, and then they benched him to the 4th-string quarterback, and then they publicly stripped him of his captaincy in front of the team during practice.
And then Drew
had him
playing, what the hell?
Playing safety for the scout team and stuff like that. It's super weird that how it came to an end.
Maybe it's because they share the stadium with the Jets. They're just intrinsically tied with the suck.
It is not a good time to be a football fan in New York, unless you are, of course, you say, forget the New York proper teams and are a fan of the Bills.
Right.
I often forget that the state of New York has 3 NFL franchises in there. But unless you're a Buffalo Bills fan and you're in this New York, probably not having a good time.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey, we had talked during our Hot Butts segment earlier in the year about the potential of Matt Nagy making a return to the Bears as a head coach if they do move on from Eberflus, the offensive coordinator from the Chiefs moving over there again. But Speaking of New York and its dumpster fire, there has been a rumor that's emerged this week, an idea of Rex Ryan being rehired as the New York Jets
Yeah, I
head
think he
coach.
publicly came out and said like, "Oh yeah, I'm the best guy for this job." And I'm
Do
like,
you find that roaring or boring running back Rex Ryan with the Jets?
I'm roaring as in I'm roaring with laughter. As in, if that happens, that would just be like, let that happen. They get Aaron Rodgers. He wants to go to the Vikings or something. I don't know. Let's just
Well,
follow the Brett Favre path.
we might as well combine them together because the final roaring or boring I had for you was history repeating itself and Aaron Rodgers getting traded to the Minnesota Vikings next season. I mean, I, I,
The
it
only
would be a
thing,
very weird world if all these storylines around the Jets play out the way that the rumors are talking about it.
Aaron Rodgers is one dick pic to an intern away from literally following what Brett
Just
Favre did in his time with the Jets.
he just left a perfect blueprint of what I was supposed
No,
to
it
do,
would
so I
not
followed
surprise
it.
me. It would not surprise me if he wants to go on the Vikings. A backup to what if this happens? Darnold balls out. He gets a contract somewhere else. They bring in Aaron Rodgers to sit behind McCarthy or have that kind of thing going on, and it'll just complete the cycle. Just complete the cycle.
It's certainly a strange situation there with the Jets, and I think the only thing you can say for certain is that the organization's in trouble, and so the Giants are in trouble, the Jets are in trouble. Thankfully, you got the Bills. So if you're a New York fan, maybe it's time just to hop on that bandwagon and just let the Jets and Giants suffer over there in the corner with whatever whatever they got going on.
I kind of agree with your dad for once here. Rodgers retiring. I mean, coming off of an injury like that is difficult for any player,
especially in his case, an older player too.
Yeah.
That is now that makes it even more difficult.
And coming into the season, I mean, he was starting to tail off at Green Bay, and I think Green Bay kind of saw the writing on the wall, and were willing to ship him off before his downturn. Now, I think he probably would have been a lot better last year if he didn't get knocked out like 4 minutes into the season, right? Mm-hmm. Like a healthy, not have to go all the rehab and all this kind of stuff. But I think that killed the momentum for him and keeping this kind of old age quarterback thing going. I think his body is kind of done at this point, but that's just me. So your dad and I agree on a few things at least.
There is common ground that exists. So
a broken clock is right twice a day.
Well, speaking of broken clocks, Jeffrey, our locks of the week, we've had mixed results so far on the season. I am sitting at 7-3 overall with my record. You're sitting at 5-4 yourself, so we are both in the plus territory here. But who are you selecting this week, Jeffrey, for your lock of the week?
I want to get back in the win column. I did last week, but I want to, make it a streak that stack some wins.
Stack that winning streak. I like it.
Which all of the spreads this week are.
Yeah, this week was tough. There aren't, like I mentioned, there aren't as many games with the bipocalypse going on, and then the spreads were definitely there weren't very many inside of our lock range. So of course we look for games that have less than a touchdown separating the two teams when we're making these picks.
Yeah, and actually the game I'm going to go with, I'm taking the Buccaneers over the Giants. I think with all the circus going on, I don't think Danny DeVito is going to come in and have the same kind of cutlet magic that he did last year. And actually, oh my goodness. So before we start the show, I just kind of these odds that I look at, I use DraftKings because I think that's the official sports betting book of the NFL. I don't know. But
there's so many options now.
There's so many options. Crazy. But it was at 5.5 before we started. It is at 6.5 now. So I'm locking this in before it gets any different. I'm taking the Buccaneers over the Giants. I think the Giants are kind of in bad vibe territory, so I wouldn't see them coming out and just sucking in general with just like, they disrespected Danny Dimes, I guess, and the locker room didn't like it. So, now you got Tommy Cutlet out there, Joe Locke's in the media being like, what, I came here to play the second or be the backup. So when the backup went down, I don't know why I'm playing. Just bad vibes all around. I see them the Buccaneers taking care of business against a bad team. I think the Buccaneers are pretty good. They're not without all their weapons, but I think they're showing way more fight than the Giants are. So
no shit, Jeff. Tampa Bay is going to kill the Giants. Hey, we don't make the odds. We just make the picks.
That's right. Yeah. And I'm 5-4. Sometimes you got to take a more, you got to take the points sometimes.
Well, for me,
for it on fourth.
I know what I'm doing is I'm going for a little bit more of a spicy game, Jeffrey. We have we've had Super Bowls. We even had one of these in a Super Bowl, but we have a Harbaugh brothers a bro ball here. A bro bowl, super bro bowl. A Harbaugh. I forget whatever nickname they gave it back in the day. Running it back with Baltimore and the Chargers this time. I was using BetMGM, and Baltimore was a 2.5 point favorite in this game, which the fact that the Chargers are a home game, usually with betting, the home teams are usually at least 3-point favorites. But so the fact that it's 2.5 towards Baltimore is a sign that they are definitely favored to win this game. And I am going with Baltimore to get the victory here, but this is probably, I think, one of the better games on this week's schedule, Jeffrey. Two very good teams in the AFC, and certainly both important for both because the Ravens are chasing the Steelers now, and the Chargers are, of course, chasing the Chiefs. Both of them very much in play for the wild card race as well. So important game for both of these teams, and you have two brothers squaring off and throwing punches.
That Super Bowl was good. I mean, they're both good coaches. I think the key here is that Baltimore's pass defense has looked awful all year, and I think despite coming into the year, people think this is going to be a run-heavy offense with the Chargers. Justin Herbert's been having a great year throwing the football, so advantage Chargers in that case, and the pass defense for Baltimore has really been kind of letting them down. And can Lamar Jackson bounce back, right? He didn't beat the allegations of not being good against the Steelers, right? But he's got another chance at them this season, and can he just kind of go back to what he does best and just stunt on people? So
yeah, the Chargers are coming into this game winners of 4 straight. The Ravens on a 1-game losing streak, so it's going to be interesting. And then Top 852 there on Twitch, the Super Bro Wool, I guess you would pronounce it that way with a hyphen in there. The Super Bro Wool.
Super Bro. I like that.
As they square off here. But yeah, I'm going to take Baltimore in this one, and I think this will go a long way too, Jeffrey, as we were talking earlier about the MVP race, to see if Lamar Jackson, if Lamar Jackson comes out here and has a good game against this Chargers team, certainly could help his chances in that race as well.
Yeah, if he comes out here and throws a stinker, I put him in the same category as Jared Goff. MVP candidates with a couple of one bad game under their belt. Now Jackson's got 2 if he sucks this game. I don't think he will, but it happens.
Now, while we have struggled, with our locks of the week, Jeffrey, of course, we look much better when it comes to our Detroit Lions pick 'em, and maybe it's because so far we've primarily stuck to choosing the Lions.
We've been drinking Kool-Aid, rightfully so.
So, I mean, I will fully admit I have chosen the Lions every week, and I'm sitting at 9-1 because the Lions are 9-1. You risked it for the biscuit. You tried to call the shot, and are sitting at 8-2. So obviously,
that early season tilt when I said that. Who did I pick? The Cardinals? Did I pick the Cardinals?
I think it was the Cardinals. Yeah.
Yeah, I should have known. I should have drank the Kool-Aid harder.
Well, spoiler alert, I'm going to continue to sip on the Kool-Aid, and I'm going to go with the Lions to get the win here against the Colts. But I imagine you're in the same boat. But
I absolutely think they're going to more than cover the spread. 7.5. It's going to be way more than that. I see another burger of some kind. Hopefully that's 71 burger, but I'm seeing we're going to be in burger territory for sure.
Yeah, and I was it's funny, the last time the Colts and the Lions played, it was Matt Stafford and I got Drew Lock's name stuck in my head now. Stanford quarterback hasn't played in a long time. Andrew Luck. There we go. Andrew Luck. Lock and Luck. There we go. Andrew Luck was under center for the Colts, and Matt Stafford was under center for the
that was
Lions.
The last time they played each other. Dang.
Yep. Yeah, it's been a while. Wow. So very not an opponent we see often, but I think the Lions are able to get a victory here and complete the sweep against the AFC South.
Have you seen any of the social media about what kind of unis we're going to wear this week? I know we like to announce.
We like to announce them. Yeah. I wonder. Let's take a look here quickly and see if they've.
I work in Indiana, so a lot of coworkers are Colts fans. They don't have a lot of hope, so morale's low, I guess.
They have low expectations heading into this game.
Based on my coworkers, at least, who are Colts fans.
Let's see. Game day. It looks like we are going all white today.
All right.
Based off of what I'm seeing here.
I'm a fan. I do like our new jerseys this year. I think just the little refresh. I got last year's, the old one, kind of on there. They switched to more of like the white lettering and the lettering on there. I'm probably not going to pull the trigger on one of those because they're very expensive. But
hey, I mean, tis the season if you are, because Black Friday sales and all that good stuff.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I do have a coupon with the NFL shop, so.
Hey, if that can stack with, I wonder if that can stack with the Black Friday sales. You'd definitely be in get to make a very economical decision at that point and get that money off. So
get that black jersey.
Oh yeah, those look real. I do enjoy those quite a bit.
Yeah.
I like the replica helmets, and so I'm definitely, that's one that I want to add to the collection. Is that black on blue? Just really, I mean, that looks so good.
Oh, so. It pops. It pops. Do they have the mini helmet ones of those? Or
I don't know if they have like the mini ones, but they have like the
handheld ones.
Yeah, the ones that are you can do like Hamlet and hold it like that size one. Yeah, they do them in that size. I don't know if they go all the way down to like the mini ones, but
gotcha. That's the ones I collect too.
Yeah, those are
got my Michigan State one, and I got my Lions one. Now I can get the Black Lions one.
Yeah. All right, Jeffrey. Well, we're both going with the Lions. Again, they're playing at 1:00 on Fox against the Colts, and I think hopefully we should be able to celebrate a Lions victory. And I think for our next episode, Jeffrey, it may be a little spicy, and we may do kind of combine them together because again, the Lions are playing again on Thursday on Thanksgiving against the Bears. So the next time we see you, we might just talk the outcome of this game and then take a look at that Bears matchup.
A Tuesday Super Show.
Yeah, a nice coming together of two shows into one there with the short week.
We can talk about the burgers we ate this weekend and then talk about the turkey we're about to eat on Thursday.
Exactly. I like it. Maybe have a little bit of Turdunk in there.
Maybe Turducken. We're about to have some horse this weekend.
Handing out the drumsticks to people.
That's right.
Very nice. All right, everybody. Well, we appreciate everyone today. I know we had a very active chat, so thank you. Whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, man, we definitely appreciate your support. And if you do enjoy the show and want to help the channel grow, one of the best ways to do that is to like, follow, and subscribe. And Jeffrey, I know we've been making a push on YouTube, so let me check here to see what the official number is currently. In terms of subscribers there. We're currently sitting at 66 subscribers. So thank you to everybody. Of course, we're trying to hit that 100 mark. So if you haven't subscribed to us yet and you would like to, please head over to YouTube and help us reach that 100 subscriber goal. We appreciate it.
Yes,
all right, Jeffrey.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's we definitely love all the sport and definitely love all the activity we see here too. If
Even when Kevin's dad comes around.
yeah, we see a lot of Lions love, we see a lot of Lions hate, but it's all good. You know, we appreciate both sides of the coin. All are welcome here. All are welcome. All right, Jeffrey. The last thing to do is we like to end these episodes is a Go Lions here. So Deku's joined us. He's here to say Go Lions, and yeah, Go Lions.
Go Lions.
All right, everyone. Have a fantastic rest of your Sunday, and we'll catch you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.